Because if he goes out there and starts to spread the word that mail-in ballots aren't going to work, this is going to be a real problem in the midterms for those Republicans. Plus the fact that he has no authority to do this. I mean, he tried to pass he wrote up an executive order a couple of months ago to deal with the voting, and he got shot down by 2 different federal judges.
Great point. Once again, Sam Seder, I wish he could just talk a little more in this, but that is a great point. Hey, thank you for clicking this video. Just to let you know, this is a clip from my previous live stream that I did. Just want to let you know I go live every Sunday through Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And if you don't know what time that is, go ahead and Google that so you can meet me and have a conversation on my next stream. Once again, I appreciate you clicking this video. Now let's enjoy the video. You know, you win some, you lose some. All right, guys. Now, of course, on this channel, I done said this a million times. I'm going to continue to say it because it always seems to be people that don't understand at least the purpose of this channel. When you're watching my videos, of course, I might try to get you, to chuckle, to LOL a little bit. You see what I'm saying? I might do some funny face reactions. Like, I'm good at that. You see my thumbnails. But the main purpose of this content is to learn something. Like, we're not going to just sit here and watch a video and that's it. If you messing with me, even on accident, you're going to learn something. Either you agree with me or not. We bring facts, we bring historical data, and we talk about that. We build upon facts and data. No conspiracies, no opinions, no vibes or feelings. So, when we're talking about Donald Trump, once again, trying to figure out ways to consolidate power for him or his Republican goons, he's going to do that. Hands down, like 6:30. And we're seeing that right now in another situation is mail-in ballots. Once again, when you're trying to restrict people's ways into voting, you're literally trying to hold them back from voting, which is a constitutional right. So anytime people try to throw up guardrails or hurdles or make it just a little bit more difficult for you to vote, that is a problem. Regardless if you're a Republican or Democrat or anything in between, that is a problem. If anything, we should be trying to make it as easy as possible. And of course, we got lists of how to make that. But for people who don't know anything about anything when it comes to mail-in voting in the U.S. began during the Civil War, 1860s, to let Union soldiers vote from the battlefield. And over time, it expanded through absentee ballot laws until the 1990s, when many states adopted no excuse absentee and universal vote by mail option, making it keyword accessible to all voters. So once again, just a part of life, making things more convenient to do things that you want to do. So that is an important part of mailing voting. Now, who benefits off of mailing voting? Rural voters benefit significantly because polling places can be far away, obviously. Mailing voter reduces travel and time costs. The working class voter with long or flexible job hours benefits since they can vote at home and return the ballot on their schedule. Elderly and disabled voters benefit from avoiding long lines and accessibility issues at polling stations. And last but not least, military and overseas citizens rely heavily on mail voting. Is often their only option to participate in elections. So once again, this benefits all Americans, not just Democrats, not just Republicans, everybody. So that's a good thing. In 2020, during the presidential election, about 65.6 million Americans voted by mail. That was about 42% of all ballots cast. Once again, during the pandemic, COVID-19, that kind of increased it, but it was helpful. Now, in 2024, about 30% of voters used mail-in ballots. So just a slight drop off, but once again, that was probably all due to COVID. So when Trump sits here and want to talk about 2020 being rigged, and he's blaming it on mail-in voting, but if we look at the statistics and the stats, the margins of his victory was even slimmer in 2024. So is he willing to say that the 2024 elections were rigged? Because there was about 30% of mail-in voting, and he won by a thinner margin in 2024. So once again, it's just a little crazy. But let's take a look at CNN and my boy, once again, I don't know him, but Mr. Sam Seder, the great, the GOAT, the one and only Sam Seder is on CNN. And to be honest, it blew my mind. I thought it was a fake thumbnail. I didn't think he was really on here. But Sam Seder with a suit is on CNN.
Tonight, Donald Trump plays a throwback, declaring that he'll lead a movement to eliminate mail-in ballots.
Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt.
And Juan Gonzalez, you are actually wrong, which they're going to point out the statistics in this video, but you'll be surprised. Take a listen.
You know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses it because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place.
Mail-in ballots are not corrupt. Fraud rates in federal elections are tiny, and dozens of countries use mail-in voting, despite what Trump claims. So why is the president suddenly so amped up about this again? Well, apparently someone got in his ear. Someone with a history of fair elections and a wealth of knowledge when it comes to election integrity.
Vladimir Putin, smart guy, said you can't have an honest election with mail-in voting. And he said there's not a country in the world that uses it now.
So once again, I know it is crazy that the Republican Party, who still fears socialism and socialists as like the big, raid boss that everybody should fear, but all of a sudden they're okay with Putin, the guy who kills his political enemies, who constructed their constitution to keep him in power. They're okay with our current president getting tips and tricks from Putin. What is going on? This is weird. I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone, okay? I'm just saying, it's a little weird.
Yes, Mr. President. He would know, because you'll recall that Vladimir Putin changed Russia's constitution to remain in power. Many of his opponents are either dead or in prison or in exile. Russia is notorious for vote tampering, restrictions on monitors, and rampant voter intimidation. And yes, Russia has interfered with America's elections. But perhaps the most important point is that it's unclear what the administration could actually do to end mail-in voting, since that power belongs to the states. Just ask the Constitution. Joining us in our fifth seat at the table is Sam Seder, host of the Majority Report.
Hey.
I don't know if President Trump forgot that he did this, but let me just play it. This is September 2024, about a year ago, when he said this to his own supporters.
You know that absentee ballots are about to go out in North Carolina? In other words, it's time to start thinking about let's vote. So important. This will be the most important election in the history of our country. So whether it's mail-in ballots, early voting, voting on the day, you got to get out and vote. We want to save our country. We're the only one going to save it. That other group of people, they're going to destroy our country. We can't let that happen. Go out and vote for Trump.
It's classic Republican hypocrisy when the proof that you need is just a video away of that same person saying the exact opposite of what they're saying later. It's golden. Like, you can't write this yourself. So it's like either they're rigged or they're not, Trump. But once again, hey, I'm just a YouTuber. Got you.
Mail-in ballots. He was fine with it.
Well, it was because his Republican strategists were panicking because they realized that they were going to lose without getting those mail-in ballots now. And I would imagine this time around, those same Republican strategists are also panicking because if he goes out there and starts to spread the word that mail-in ballots aren't going to work, this is going to be a real problem in the midterms for those Republicans. Plus the fact that he has no authority to do this. I mean, he tried to pass he wrote up an executive order a couple of months ago to deal with the voting, and he got shot down by 2 different federal judges. So there's really there's no path for him here, and it's sort of fascinating that all it takes is one suggestion from Putin. I mean, what were they doing talking about 2020 during these meetings? Like, he's like a cat. It's like no object permanence here.
Where were the staff to remind the president that it's actually not true what he claimed, which is that the federal government let me just read it actually. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do. That is not at all what the Constitution says. You know that because you're a conservative.
Abby, I agree with you. States have a huge role to play when it comes to elections. We also know that in 2020, as a result of the COVID pandemic, a lot of states went very aggressively in the direction of mail-in ballots.
Which they are entitled to do because they are in charge of the time, manner of the elections. They are in charge of that.
Even the U.S. Election Assistance Commission has studied mail-in ballots and said that there are a certain percentage, I believe like 500,000, that probably aren't ultimately delivered to their final destination. So I'd put this question to all of you. If you won the New York lottery, would you mail in your $1 million winning lotto ticket, or would you want to take it physically to the office to cash it in? I think if anybody wants to ensure that their vote is counted, the best way to do it. Well, then what about
Okay, first off, that was the wackest analogy ever. Like, I hope he just thought about that, like, in the moment. Like, I hope he didn't plan that one because that was whack as hell. Second off, it is up to the states to decide. Like, point blank, period. So, like, why are these Republican commentators sitting here entertaining this conversation? But once again, like old boy said, like, logic doesn't matter. Like, Rodney, like you say, too much logic, and they don't care about it.
That was a terrible analogy. What about the Democrat Attorney General of New Jersey, who just an hour from here in Paterson, New Jersey, there was corruption and they're investigating voter fraud because there was a politician who used mail-in ballots to try to steal the election.
Voting is I like the lottery. Let's talk about why that analogy was just terrible. So, like, voting is a right and playing the lottery is a privilege, right? Those are two vastly different things. And the right means that you should make it free and fair. Everyone should have access to it. We should actually be trying to make voting as easy as possible so that we're more inclusive. Things like Oregon is what we should be talking about, where they have Tobias Reed and automatic voter registration. That's where we should be going with this, not necessarily trying to crack down on it. Yes, we want to eliminate voter fraud, but if we want to go back to 2020, and the great irony in this, and I haven't heard neither one of you all have said a bad thing about Vladimir Putin tonight. Neither one of you all. And Vladimir Putin is someone who literally has killed his enemies, has killed his political opponents, has pushed them off roofs and poisoned them and all of these things. And he is the one who said that this is something you should deal with.
Right.
And he went on Sean Hannity and
I
quoted
did
it.
say, by the way, that I believe the first comment I made was that he was a tyrant and shouldn't be trusted.
Wait, you're drifting from.
You know what?
You're drifting with
I
Vladimir
give you
Putin.
credit. I was
This
really
is not
talking
about
about
Vladimir Putin. This is about voter fraud.
Say
right?
something bad about Vladimir
Yes,
Putin.
it is
He's a
about
bad
voter
guy.
fraud. But let's hear
Not just
one
Patterson.
example.
I'm going to give you 5. Patterson, New Jersey is the one.
Just 5?
No, more.
That's it?
I found a bunch.
many votes are we
Sioux
got?
City, Iowa, North
Okay.
Carolina 9, 2018, Appalachia, Virginia 2006, Miami mayor was
Okay.
overturned in 97, Bridgeport, Connecticut was just overturned.
Okay.
Not every ballot.
So Joe, tell
Let me
me
finish that.
where
Not every ballot.
Tell me the degree to which mail-in voting
I'm telling you.
fraud was enough to change the result of a presidential election. Where is that?
I can't pronounce the name. In Michigan,
Of a
in Miami,
presidential election?
But not every election is about the presidential race. We
Okay.
also elect people at the state, federal, and local
yeah,
level.
but
And I looked into that because I watched this before, showing you guys just to see what they're talking about, see if it's worth talking about. And just like every other mail-in voting around the world, it is so low that it is not going to change any election. Like, of course, in Colorado, I say this, in Colorado, in Mesa County during the 2024 election, authorities found at least, check this out, you ready? 12 mail-in ballots that have been stolen and filled out fraudulently. 12. Once again, there should be none. Of course, I get it. But nothing is ever going to be perfect to the point that it's zero fraudulent anything. So the mere fact that it could be just 12 in the county is impressive. And he said 250,000 out of how many voters voted in the 2024 election. Add that up. So 250,000 is actually pretty impressive. In other countries, narrowed down so beautifully that it's virtually nothing. So once again, just like someone said, Republicans are always reaching to the point to where now we want to restrict people from voting. Great solution, guys.
What I'm trying to make is,
Trump
Abby,
is making this statement
let me finish
based
the point.
on
Joe
his
Biden
own experience.
let me finish the point. Not every ballot mailed in is fraud. But it's almost always the case where you have fraudulent ballots. It's done not just by mail ballots, but paper ballots, absentee ballots. So if the president wants to secure ballot integrity in a better way, I am 100% for this. Now, you all, last segment, were so worried about the MAGA base and how they would react to troops on the ground.
Can I
gonna
just
react.
ask a
MAGA base
clarifying
is
question
thrilled
of
about
you,
this.
Joe? You said you're all for what the president wants to do, but he is saying he wants to federally, he wants the president by decree to ban mail-in voting in this entire country. Are you for that?
No idea how I was going to do that.
Okay, are you for that? Because you just said that you're for what
I'm
he
willing
wants
to
to
wait
do.
for the executive order and see if
You
it's
just said
valid.
you're for what he wants to do.
If he figures out a way to meet the requirements of the court that struck it down previously, if he figures out a way to do it, I'm for it.
He can't, though.
If he can't, then he can't. But it's a thing that I would hope, and I've actually supported the New York State legislature in doing this. I would write a check to the South Carolina legislature.
Let me ask you a
if they were
question. Are you in
supporting
favor? Are you in favor of when you turn 18, you're automatically registered
Yeah,
to vote?
but you're acting like
Are you
mail-in.
in favor
But
of
you're
that,
acting like
Trump?
mail-in. Hold on,
Are
you're
you
acting like mail-in ballots are something universal. Trump was wrong. It wasn't one country. You were wrong too. It's not dozens. It's 12. 12 countries on planet Earth
No,
have
no,
no, that's
12
actually
have,
not- no, no,
12
no.
have universal.
12 in Europe.
22
No,
have
no.
other ways of getting it
It's-
not universal. So that's
Well,
34.
we
that's
also
15% of the countries on
hello,
Earth.
Joe, we also don't have universal mail-in ballots. We don't have that.
In some
so the
cases.
idea that, listen, it's not 12, okay, but there are over 30 countries in the world that have mail-in and ballot voting, A. And B, to your point, Sam, Donald Trump is messing with something that his voters use. Okay, 24% of Republicans used mail-in ballots in the 2024 election. That is a little bit down from 2020 when there was a pandemic, but it just goes to show that you then take those voters, some of them are in the villages in Florida, they're in Utah where they automatically send mail-in ballots to every registered voter.
Right.
You're taking those Republican voters and you're saying to them, we're going to make it harder for you to vote. That
Because
doesn't make a lot of
Putin
sense.
said it was a good idea.
And once again, if I wanted to hear what Sam Seder had to say, but once again, this lady, I guess she needed some talking time. But okay, let's let her talk.
Like, also, if you're going to get away with eliminate all mail-in voting, then what happens to the individuals who in New York State are on the permanent absentee list? Those who are disabled, those who are senior citizens who can't get to the poll. So are disabled people then totally disenfranchised if they're unable to get to the polls? Is that what the president really wants to do? I mean, this is bad for him politically, but it is bad for democracy, and the just absurdity that it came from a meeting with Putin just adds insult to injury.
Conservatives have been
we can do
talking
this.
about the problems with mail-in voting.
We can do this for the military as well.
But he said
Because the military votes mail-in ballots.
Yes, that's right.
The military votes
in the last iteration of this, it wasn't.
Well, I don't understand. If it's not secure for citizens, why isn't it not secure for the military?
Again, I'm not
Hey,
saying.
great point. Once again, Sam Seder, I wish he could just talk a little more in this, but that is a great point. It's secure for them, and they go through the same process. They don't get a special, with a bolted like envelope or something. Like, no, it works for them. It works for us. The statistics say so. And once again, it benefited Trump in the 2024 election. If it wasn't for that 24%, he would have lost. And it benefits his voters. And once again, in another world, maybe I will be okay with Republicans not being able to vote. But I think fair needs to be fair, no matter who is voting. But to sit here and try to pretend like this is some pandemic of all this proved voter fraud is an issue. So now we need to restrict people's way to vote is a solution. That in and of its own is ridiculous. Find a better way to unfraud mail-in voting. But to just take it away is not a proper solution. But you can't ever talk logic to these people. Admit, like you said, hey, Sam looking sharp in that suit. It threw me off for a second. I'm not used to Sam being in a suit. I mean, sun's out, guns out. That's the kind of, I'm used to Sam being just in a tank top, just showing off the muscles. Like he looked like Superman in that suit. I know he got just like this under there.
Anyone can make an election completely secure from any fraud. I'm just saying that in many instances, which I laid out earlier, just the top 10 I could find, right? The universal method was through paper ballots, whether it's absentees or whether it's mail-in ballots.
So now you want to get rid of all.
We do have to hit pause on this conversation. We're going to
saying.
continue this after a quick break. We'll be right back.
All right, and unfortunately, there's no coming back from a quick break. That's the end of the video. But once again, it's and I think someone kind of hinted at it earlier, but it almost feels like a distraction. I'm not even sure if they're being serious. Once again, it almost feels like exhausting talking about something they really don't care about. Because once again, the facts are out there. The data is out there. Even for other countries, they're not having issues. Or at least not to the amount to where you need to just scrap the entire thing. It's not a thing. So once again, it feels like this is just something they're just bringing up just to try to deflect so they can just keep doing what they're doing and kind of keep us entertained. I don't know. But once again, this is what dictators do. They do everything that they can. And with Trump, through executive order, because he knows he can't make a deal with anybody. He's supposed to be this great negotiator, this great deal maker. He can't pass policy to save his life. So it's I guess, executive order, which is just going to get overturned by the next president. But once again, this is what dictators do. Try to find ways to consolidate power. And if you want a prime example, look at Hitler. When he got in power, he stripped away everything. Everything. And people just sat there. And then we know the rest. The rest is history.
Let's see how you do under pressure. I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra.